Hello, friends, and welcome to the podcast. This is the JRPG Report, episode 178. I'm your host, James Fisher. Hope you guys are having an awesome day and kind of winding up summer, at least getting close to it at least. Kiddos are heading back to school. Things are returning back to insanity. And maybe you just want to kick back and relax, put some headphones on or whatever, or listen to some news, or pop in your favorite JRPG and do some grinding away and listen to the podcast. I don't care what you do. It's as long as you listen every week. That's all that matters to me. We got a fun show for you guys. As you can tell from the thumbnail, we don't talk about rumors all the time, but this is one of those ones that's a little more founded, I believe, in plausibility or inevitability. Is that how you would say that? So we'll go there. It's not a ton of news, as we kind of discussed last week. We're getting close to GameCon in 2 weeks, Tokyo Game Show in September. So things are going to start to wind down, but we got some fun things to talk about. But first, let's hit that rumor. Let's give it the old knockout punch, and let's see if I think this is a real thing or not. First, with what was reported from our friends at Gamatsu and Siliconera, that a third numbered Xenoblade Chronicles game is nearing the final stages of development at Monolith Soft as a sequel to Xenoblade Chronicles 2, according to a fanbyte report by former Game Informer senior editor Imran Khan, citing unnamed sources. So that's always interesting. You got the unnamed sources that would be fired on the spot, of course, if something like this leaked. They've kept it under lock and key for a while. So let's just hit that part first. It's a numbered sequel. It's been long, I guess, common knowledge is that Monolith Soft is working on another Xenoblade Chronicles game. It's a cash cow. Why in the world would they not? With the recent release of or remaster of Chronicle 1, it was only a matter of time. Really, the only question was what was going to be next. Would it be Chronicles 3? Would it be a remaster of X, or possibly even a sequel to 10 or another game along those lines? And it appears to be the former, at least if this report is true. With Xenoblade Chronicles 2 selling over 2 million units for the Switch, it does kind of make sense that they would try to do a sequel. They did the Torna DLC as well, kind of showing the prequel to it. And the rumor also kind of goes into the idea that it would be some of the returning characters that have, let's just say, the blades that have outlived their humans and are taking up a third possible game. So this game was supposed to have been, of course, allegedly, announced earlier this year, and then would have been coming out in the winter of 2021, but like many things in the game development world, COVID hit them, and it apparently hit them a little bit harder than maybe some of the other players. Maybe some people actually came down with it. They were unable to really progress with this game as they would. I kind of feel like maybe some limitations of the Switch itself could also be playing into this announcement, that is, or a pushback rather, that they want to get more models on screen than previous entries, including both playable characters and enemies. So if you played Chronicles 2, even docked or it handheld, either one, it was pushing the system. There was definitely times where there would be some very big loading issues with textures. You'd basically be looking at a puddle of mud in terms of what was on the screen until it kind of caught up with itself and all loaded up. So I'm sure they were trying to really, really push this little system for everything that that's capable of. So yeah, while it was supposed to come out at the end of 2021, it has been postponed until, they say, the first half of 2022 at the earliest. The other kind of leading credence more to just the no-brainer part of this, that of course we knew another game was coming. there was what they're going to call a slip of the tongue from voice actress Jenna Coleman, who voiced Melia in the first Xenoblade Chronicles game. And she was doing a video chat with YouTube channel Den Meteorite back in June. It wasn't actually caught at the time. It was only in post that someone kind of said, she said, quote, God, the first game, when was it? 10 years ago? It was a long time ago. I did pre-Doctor Who days. And when they did the second one, they asked me to come back. And I think they're going to do another. She paused. Common knowledge? Yeah, she said, I don't know. Yeah, I think they're going to do another. Not sure if I'm allowed to say that. So take that with a grain of salt, what you will. Could she have been asked to come back and do some voice acting for the third game? Of course, it's definitely possible, although you would think if the game had been pushed back that far, and this was in June that she said that they wouldn't necessarily be that far along to do the English voice acting quite yet, but who knows, maybe they're already doing some to get ready for it. It's been a while, so if you're looking at it timeline-wise, Xenoblade Chronicles 2 came out for the Switch in December 1st of 2017, the DLC followed in September of 2018, so you're talking 3 years ago, even with Chronicles 1 remastered to kind of hold people over, it's about the right time. So if I were to put a percentage on if this is true or not, I don't know. I'd say at least 80%. I have 0% doubt that there is another Xenoblade Chronicles game coming. What it is, I guess we really don't know since they've not announced anything, even that they were actually working on it. They do kind of keep that one tight-lipped. The remaster came out, and it was pretty close to its release when it was announced that they were working on that. So Monolith Soft tends to keep quiet about these type of things until they're really ready to debut. So this timing, you've got these leaks kind of coming out, these rumors swirling. Either you're going to have a Nintendo Direct soon, which I don't know of one scheduled right now, or it's going to come out at TGS. That would, what kind of awesome debut would that be if they're like, hey, Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is a real thing, Pyra is back, something along those lines, and all they would have to do is show a cutscene and then show 2022, and you would get the fan base all kinds of fired up for a new game. I know I am selfishly hoping that this is a real thing. As I've stated before, I put a ridiculous amount of time in the game on the Switch, and this kind of makes me want to go back and play and give Torna another chance. I didn't love it, but at that point I'd played way too much Xenoblade and needed a break and didn't know it, so to speak. But yeah, are you excited about this? Do you think it's a real thing? Are you excited? Do you think that they will be able to get it out early 2022 as is reported? Or am I just being a silly fanboy and wishing for something that is actually not coming? We want to give a big shout out to all those who support this podcast financially. You guys rock. You know this each and every month. But I want to just quickly say big thanks to Kyle, Brandon, Andre, Jordan, Ethan, Luke, and Dalton. Those guys and gals, I don't want to assume anything. They put their monies where their ears are, and I cannot thank them enough for giving me inspiration to put the podcast out each and every week. By the numbers, that's about 3% of the listeners that hear this each and every week support it financially. I would love to see that number get somewhere a little bit higher, and I think if we could reach a number like 10%, that I would be extremely fired up to want to bring back some Sunday specials and make some new content for this podcast. But we will keep on keeping on. You can support the podcast either through Patreon or the Anchor app. You can do that directly. All the links are below in the show episode notes. You can also just send me a PayPal one-time donation directly, that's also greatly appreciated at jamesfisherproductions@gmail.com. Again, all those links are down below. Back to the news. No more rumors to talk about as we gear up for Gamescom on August the 26th. They'll having opening night ceremonies the night before on the 25th. That's at 2 o'clock to 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time on August 25th. A game that will probably be there is going to be Tales of Arise. We've been talking a lot about that here lately. This is hopefully one of the last things we say, as they announced there will be a demo for the game for PS5, Xbox, PC, or I'm sorry, let me stop right there. PS5, PS4, Xbox Series, and Xbox One on October 18th. Notably missing from that, there will be no PC demo, at least not yet. The publisher, that being Bandai Namco, announced. So, good news if you are a console gamer, bad news if you are a PC player. I mean, at least you're getting the game when it launches on September 10th worldwide, but you're not going to get to play the demo. There are also, with that announcement, various gaming sites. You can see the link that we put on the Gametsu article to all these. Either 4Gamer, Famitsu has their own preview, Game Informer, gamer.com.tw.ne, GameSpot, and RuluWeb, all with extensive gameplay previews. I am guessing that is what the demo is going to be covering. We'll talk a little bit more about what to expect from this game from Siliconera's preview of the game, but we'll save that for the very end in case you're not wanting to listen to it. There's no spoilers in there, but get you a kind of a better taste for what's going to be going on. So again, yeah, you can play that demo starting on August the 18th for consoles. One thing I did, this is why you supporters pay me those big bucks each and every month, is I did a little digging, as this was not in the original article or not. So whenever you hear a demo, I'm usually happy to announce that there is the ability to save your progress and carry it over. And it wasn't said in the article. And when something is not said, that usually means it's not in there. So I did a little digging on the old Twitter, went to the Tales of page, dug through the comments. Somebody asked the question if the demo progress will be carried over, and that is a big negative, Ghost Rider. So how do you feel about that? How do you feel about the demo in general? I tell you, when I first heard word of the demo, I didn't want to play it, right? So my initial reaction is, my money's already paid for this game. I want to experience it in full when it releases. And then, kind of this morning, I'm like, well, if I can save my progress, that'd kind of be silly not to, right? And then I looked up, found the answer that no, there is no save progress. So yeah, I'm back on the first train of thought of, I will just wait until I get the full game to experience it. You've probably done this before as well. You play a demo for a game, and you're really looking forward to it, so there's nothing, you're not trying to sell yourself on the game. You've already paid money for it, more than likely. Now, if a game comes out with a demo and you haven't paid for it and you're trying to check it out, that's completely different. But before it comes out, you know you want it anyway. I don't want to have to play back through those 2 or 3 hours and retread that time. You know, time is very valuable, and I don't want to do it twice, so to speak. But yeah, I think it's a good thing they're putting it out in case there are some people that are on the fence about things. And like I said, I'll talk a little bit about at the very end, in case you don't want to hear it, what they think about this, and just a slight preview that they feel like it's possibly going in a darker tone for the series, and we'll see how we think that is going to play out. I guess it was actually late last night, early this morning, Atlas released a new story trailer for Shin Megami Tensei 5. They have dubbed this the Bethel trailer. It kind of goes into a little more detail about the war between the angels and the demons. You seem to be kind of caught up in the middle of it. It's a cool looking demo. I I really like the look of this game. I just found out that they are using Unreal Engine 4, and that kind of explains the look of the game and how it's a little bit different than previous ones, but still kind of the same. This is a first in the mainline Shin Megami Tensei series to use Unreal Engine 4. One thing I did take away from watching the trailer, and I guess I hadn't picked up on this before, as there is an English and a Japanese trailer. There's two different versions of it. This one was released by Atlas West. It has English subtitles. There is no English voice acting for this game. Now, could they add that in between now and November? Certainly possible. I just would have thought it would have been in there by now, and I hadn't realized that necessarily. Is it a deal breaker for me or anybody else? Probably not, but I just thought that was kind of interesting that there was no English voices in the game, and I'm sure it's been there, and I hadn't noticed it before, so just keep that in mind if it's something that maybe you weren't expecting as well, and kind of like, hey, what's going on here? Where's I mean, Alice certainly does all the voice work for the Persona series, so I guess I was a little surprised that it wasn't in there. But yeah, you can check that video out. You will have to you have to do it directly on YouTube, where it's a mature video. There's some things going on there that you want to be a little older to watch. They've put that behind there. But yeah, coming out on November 11th in Japan, November 12th worldwide, exclusively for Nintendo Switch. If you want to keep up with the goings on in the JRPG world, well, you know where to head. Over to the JRPG, butchered that one, JRPGreport.com. That is a website that I put all this show stuff on there, at least all the episodes on YouTube, and you can get all of them that way. But yeah, follow us on our social media channels, Facebook, Twitter, and you can see all the trailers that we talk about and then some on our YouTube channel. Speaking of YouTube, there was a recent live stream for Blue Reflection Second Light. They did about 2 hours worth of live stream. The new trailer was in there, looking pretty good. They've called it PV1. Kind of taking a look at some of the gameplay elements of this title. Not buried, but in that live stream, there was about 35 minutes of live gameplay shown of the Japanese version of this game. And it was, a little bit here, a little bit there, 4 different segments. And yeah, I know what you're thinking. Like, dude, I don't have 2 hours to sift through a YouTube video to find gameplay of this game. I really want to see what it looks like. I got you, man. Don't worry. So I snipped it out and put that all into one 35-minute package just for you, and that is available over on our YouTube channel. You might want to know Japanese, but you can at least get a look at the gameplay of it. I think it actually starts at the very beginning. You can see the load screen and everything, a new game option, all that fun stuff, but it does go into a bit of the battle dynamics as well. Remember, this one is coming out fairly soon for PS4 and Switch in October, and a quick turnaround for PS4, Switch, and PC on November 9th in North America and Europe. There's still, from what I'm hearing, there's that special edition available directly through, I think it's, I'm not sure where it is, but I'm sure you can find the link for it. There's a few of them left. The special editions always are limited in numbers, but if you're looking to pick this game up and want to spend those extra bucks, you'll want to do so pretty quickly. In no news segment of the podcast, we were anxiously hoping that there would be some Grand Blue Fantasy Relink news as part of that summer live stream that went on last week, and nope. Nada. I think it was like 4 hours long, and they definitely talked about the mobile and they talked about the fighting game, but Relink, it might have been mentioned in passing, but there was no video of it. I skimmed through the whole thing, and there was no mention on any of the gaming channels of anything other than the fighting game stuff. So sad to say it was not present. Makes me really kind of anxious that, this game's already been delayed a few times, so while, next year it is supposed to come out. Man, I don't know. I really don't know. There is a new trailer for Demon Gaze Extra from publisher Katakawa Games and developer Cattle Call. This is the second official trailer for the Japanese version of this one. Still no word on a Western release yet for it, but the original came out over here, so there's really no reason why this one shouldn't as well. Demon Gaze Extra is due out for PS4 and Switch on September 2nd in Japan. You can check out that new trailer over on our YouTube channel. If you are an older gamer like myself, I didn't play this series, but that certainly rings a bell. Shining Force is supposed to be coming back, but yeah, it's coming to mobile. So Hive, a Japanese subsidiary of a Korean company, Vespa, has licensed the right to develop and distribute a game that utilizes the Shining Force intellectual property from Sega, and therefore announced Shining Force Heroes of Light and Darkness for mobile. It will launch in the first half of 2022 worldwide as a free-to-play title with in-game app with item-based in-game purchases, i.e., gotcha. Specific territories were not announced, but they do have the rights to distribute it in Japan, South Korea, and other Asian countries, as well as North America and Europe. There's a beta test planned for this game. The game is in development with the goal of bringing the strategy and fun of tactical RPGs to mobile devices, based on the unique setting and story of the Shining Force series and the fun of developing unique and charming characters. So yeah. If you are a longtime fan of Shining Force, that was on Genesis and whatnot, I believe. I don't know. Like I said, not a game I got to experience. Maybe it was on Nintendo at some point in time, but I don't remember seeing it. But yeah, it's coming back, but probably not the way you would have liked. If you've been watching our YouTube channel, hoping for some live stream action, it's not there. I'm still playing Genshin Impact, and I don't live stream that one, as I just play for kind of fun. And then technically, it's not a JRPG, so it's not something I put out there. And still trying to decide if I'm honestly at this point, I'm probably just going to ride it out until Tales of Arise, and then we will be live streaming that each night. I'm going back and forth. I have been streaming on YouTube, but I'm thinking about making the switch to Twitch. As you guys know, I did not get monetized on YouTube, and that was kind of one of the points of it. I will still support it with trailers, but I'm thinking about, since I'm never going to get paid by YouTube, maybe I could switch over and make $1 or $2 on Twitch. Well, that is to be determined. If you are a fan of Fantasian, and if you've played through the first part and you're like, hey, I wonder when the second part's coming out. Well, I've got news for you. It's coming out on August the 13th. Developer Mistwalker announced. Of course, this one is exclusive to Apple Arcade, which, unless they've gone up in prices, about $5 per month. You can play Fantasian and a bunch of other really cool games like Clap Hands Golf, if you're a fan of Hot Shots Golf. It was pretty cool. Part 2 is described as more quest-driven than Part 1 and is expected to take 40 to 60 hours to complete. New features include the ability to swap part members mid-battle, an expanded character growth map, approximately 50 new handmade dioramas, and 34 new tracks composed by legendary composer Nobuo Uematsu. Part 1 launched back on April the 1st. There are 2 new trailers that are out for it, a story trailer and a features trailer. If you've not played Part 1, do not watch the story trailer. I've been told by one of our fans on YouTube that it kind of outlines everything and may have a lot of spoilers in it. I've not seen it. I've not played Part 1. I know to avoid it. The features part is pretty tame from everything I've seen. It shows the game in action. There may be some spoilers in there, of course. That's the way these Part 2s do work, but I think it's much more tame. So if you're looking to see what this game is all about, you can see that as opposed to some other trailers on our YouTube channel, the first ones. I never got a chance to play it. I did the free trial of Apple Arcade for a month. I feel it's a good value. I really do. For $5, you can certainly waste $5 a lot easier. I just wasn't using it, so I think a game like this, while on your phone is definitely easier, I think it would look pretty good and play a little bit better on let's say a tablet or something. So that's up to you. But yeah, if you've been looking forward to it, you don't have to wait too much longer. A very interesting thing popped up from the Legend of Heroes Chronicles, and that is the Spriggan Edition soundtrack mini sampler video. 6 tracks were previewed. This video, it's on our YouTube channel. I believe this soundtrack, like I said, you will get that if you pre-order the Spriggan Edition for the Japanese version of the game that comes out on September the 30th. I'm sure when that day comes in many years that we get it in the West, there will also be a sample soundtrack that goes along with it. The following video, or the video has 6 tracks. See how badly I can butcher. I'm not even going to try. That's bad. Why would I want to do that? Tharbud Night is track number 3, and Unmitigated Evil is track 5, and Rise of the Grendel is track 6. The other ones are very Japanese, and I don't feel like saying them incorrectly. What I want to say is interesting is that the tracks are banging. The music is fantastic. Do yourself a favor. I think it's about 6.5 minutes for the total video, so you're not getting the entire track ruined for you, but it's definitely cool to hear it. There are some images that go along with each one. Most of them, we have seen these characters before. It's a different picture of said characters, but there was one picture in particular, and it definitely caught my eye. I shared it on our social channels today, as it definitely caught the eyes of some other, perhaps more astute people. And if you are a long-time Legend of Heroes player, it has been suggested that this picture that I shared is of an adult Rin. She was quite young in Trails in the Sky. She grew up a little bit in Cold Steel 4, and as we saw with Fee, now a couple years older, she would also be a couple years older, and it doesn't show a face, it just kind of shows a silhouette. It looks like a school uniform of some sort. So I don't know. It'd certainly be interesting if it was her and pop back up. We've seen more than a few people pop back up in this game. By and large, it's new characters, especially the playable cast. But yeah, you see stuff like this, and it leads to speculation, and you get all excited about it, and you're like, oh man, it's coming out in September in Japan. We'll get it. Never. Some of us may not make it when this game finally comes out in 2 or 3 years, and that just makes me sad because I want to play it so much. If you are looking to shape the future of Dragon Quest, maybe Square Enix will listen to you. Who knows? They have opened up a new survey. If you check out our link on our social channels, you can get the link to that, and it asks fans about their favorite Dragon Quest games. It asks them what they would like to see from the franchise in the future. And of course, you have your standard questions about region, gender, owned video game devices, blah, blah, blah. But then it goes into the more specifics, asking about favorite game genres and where fans get their Dragon Quest news. And you can say the JRPG report with your beloved host, James Fisher. I don't think that's an option. The 30-question survey starts off with questions related to gaming habits. May not want to know some of them, I don't know. Such as gaming devices, usual play time, and frequency of play all day, every day. Other questions include how to get users to where they get their latest information, whether they follow the official Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube accounts, and how likely to gauge how efficient Square Enix's current social media strategy currently is. It's too much. Too many videos. Pull back a little bit. It's the survey then begins to ask questions which games they played in the past. Interestingly, question 20 doles out a long list of what is essentially every game since its inception, including more niche titles as Fortune Street, Tornico, Last Hope, and Dragon Quest Heroes Rocket Slime. From there, the survey asks what the user's first, second, and third favorite Dragon Quest games are. What are your top 3 Dragon Quest games. This was posed as a question on Twitter by somebody, and of course I answered 4, 8, and 11. Additionally, it asked fans how they came to find out about the series and whether they turned in to watch the 35th anniversary stream. Yes, that was amazing. I loved it. Notably, it asked them whether fans would be interested in playing the newly announced DQ12 and perhaps even more so the Dragon Quest III HD remake. Finally, the survey ends with an open text box for fans to write in what they'd like to see from the series. So I'm going to take advantage of this. No doubt this survey, I think, popped up just yesterday. So it should be live for a while. You know what? Won't I click on that just to make sure? No, it's there. It's in English. It's not. Google didn't have to translate anything for me. So yeah, you can do that as well. Like I said, check out the link that I put on Facebook and Twitter. And you too can say what you love and don't love about Dragon Quest. If you enjoyed our listener review from Jake about Monster Hunter Stories 2, Wings of Ruin, maybe you're like, that sounds really good. I want to pick this one up, but maybe I want to play that first one first. They are linked. Not necessary to do that, but hey, if you want to, who's to say you can't? Well, you're probably going to have to go out there and try to find it on the 3DS somewheres or download it. I guess you could probably download it, but you could do it a slightly easier way. You can sign up for the aforementioned Apple Arcade. I'm sure they're probably still doing that free trial for a month. The first Monster Hunter Stories game is available right now for Apple Arcade subscribers. This is the full version of the game with no extra purchases. So this tells the tale of Ryder, the Raithia, and his journey around the world to make monster friends, protect people from strange occurrences. The recent Monster Hunter Stories 2 for the Switch and PC is a direct sequel set years after his events and with some of those same characters. So I thought that was pretty well done. That's apparently it says both Android and Apple iOS devices. So maybe there's a mobile version of it as well. But yeah, if you can't find that 3DS version, which I don't think I've ever even seen it for sale. Maybe it's out there somewhere, but this would be a much easier way to play it on your, if you can, and you've got Apple device to play it on. PC players have been enjoying Phantasy Star Online 2 New Genesis to the tune of 9 million players worldwide. That's a big number, and certainly it's the top performing title for Sega at the moment. It has achieved cumulative sales of 100 billion yen, whatever that translates to. So, needless to say, they're going to keep on pumping that one out as they are enjoying quite a bit of success. So, the last thing I want to talk about is the Siliconera preview of Tales of Arise. I've read through it. I didn't read anything that was spoilerific. They've already shown quite a bit in all the trailers. If you are on a media blackout for this game, you should probably go ahead and say goodbye, and I won't blame you one bit. But if not, sit back. It's just a couple paragraphs, and I will tell you all about my most anticipated game in quite a while, but one I'm certainly fired up to play here very soon. Tales of Arise is something of a reinvention for the franchise. Bandai Namco's long-running RPG series has focused on a bright nostalgia surrounding its action-based battles, and feeling like older games has felt like something of an asset. But at this point, it definitely needs a new coat of paint. We spent a few hours playing the game's opening chapter, and you can definitely feel the dawn of a new Tales era. Arise's early hours, at least, are bleak and barren. The new tone feels like what we've seen a lot from Japanese franchises, a pivot to a grittier approach in an effort to garner more global appeal. That said, it also seems to know what people came for in a Tales over the top and what they came to Tales for. Over the top anime fighting. So there's a lot of that too, but it does feel a little different at the start. The game uses a lot of close-up, behind-the-back camera angles, and observational quips as you walk slowly like an area, kind of like what Uncharted did, or made so famous. Once you start feeling out of it, you might start to feel out of place, though. The music kicks in, and you start yelling out names like Swallowblade and Rising Wyvern as you attack, and you're stepped right back into that Tales reality. Tales of Arise isn't technically impressive by modern standards, but it's a huge upgrade for the Tales franchise. The commitment to its stylized anime aesthetics helps, for sure. The side conversation skits, once just static headshots talking back and forth, are now presented in manga style. Expression, different shapes, and framing really work well for these sequences, making them more engaging and worthwhile. It also gets a lot out of its lighting, smoke, and focus. We've seen this approach a lot lately, as it helps a game scale well to platforms' different technical capabilities, and also lightens the load on graphical assets. For Arise, it works. After all, it's a game about the party members, and making sure the game looks nice enough in this way lets the most of the attention go to details in the character models. The first part of Tales of Arise focuses on two characters, the protagonist Alphen, known at this point as Iron Mask, and the powerful elementist Xion. In the opening chapter, Arise introduces the main struggle, a fight against the power-siphoning Renin lords. Freedom, justice, amnesia? It's classic JRPG motivation. In that way, it's still very Tales. We were able to play through two of the game's dungeons, leading up to the first boss encounter. These areas didn't have a lot of enemy variety, though with new tutorials rolling out throughout them, it might have been an intentional choice. There's a lot to pick up. These segments are spaced out well enough that it doesn't feel like you're locked into training mode for an hour, but still early in the game so you can pull off combos and unlocking special arts. There's a lot of overlaid combat systems as players have come to expect with Tales. You need to manage stamina and spellcasting resources, and you need to build up special meters. Bigger enemies take a lot longer to fight, so the game builds custom attack animations. It also allows you to trigger them at specific times with the press of a directional pad. This allows the development team to have some moments that feel a bit more cinematic. We've seen that plenty in the trailers. It would, of course, be nice if the base combat allowed for this sort of fun and variety, though. But boss fights are frustratingly long, as if the first one against Balseth is any indication. So these things help. Fundamentally, though, Tales of Arise is a game about learning to dodge enemy attack patterns. This is true for a lot of games out there, but the stark importance of hit and run in Arise makes it feel almost like Punch-Out at times. There's definitely some new stuff in Tales of Arise, a welcome development for a franchise that has felt stagnant in recent years. But with all this change, it's still a bit comforting. Nostalgic factor that we unlocked when they unlocked Demon Fang. Some things staying the same can feel quite nice. So there you go. That is their opening impressions. It's pretty much what I expected to hear. We knew there was changes coming. I feel like some of this could be, the difficulty level could be adjusted. Maybe it's a bit too tough, or I don't mind boss fights going on for a while. I mean, they're supposed to be challenging, right? Now, Tales can always get pretty tough pretty fast, and you can be wiped out in a moment's notice. But I don't know. I am so excited to get lost in this world of Tales of Arise. We've been waiting a long time for it, and they kind of just give us what to expect in it. And I'm sure if you choose to play the demo, you might come out feeling the same way that they did. That's going to wrap it up for episode 178. We'll be back next week. I feel like next week is just fine. The way that Gamescom is going to fall on pretty much start opening nights Wednesday, and then the first real days on the 26th and 27th, 26th being a Thursday when we normally release. I'm in Germany. Of course, they're ahead of us here, so maybe most of the stuff will come out before them, and we'll be just fine as far as putting the podcast out at its normal time. I might wait just a few, and it might come out a couple hours later than normal, but we'll just have to wait and see. I'm hoping for some big announcements, but we might not get anything. You just never know with Gamescom. It can go either way. But yeah, next week we'll be back with a new podcast just for you guys. Don't forget, like us on our social channels, and if you are inclined to do so, please consider supporting this podcast. It makes it easier to justify to the wife why maybe not out there trying to get a higher paying job somewhere. So do your part and help me stay here in this seat, delivering the news to you each and every week. My name is James Fisher. Thank you so much for tuning in this one. We'll be back next week. But until then, get back out there and level up.